Welcome to the Let's Stay Healthy radio show, sponsored and brought to you by Montana Harvest Natural Food Store in Billings, Montana. If you don't spend time on your wellness, you're going to be forced to spend time on your illness. Your health is your most valuable asset. Invest in it by tuning in now.
Welcome everybody to Let's Stay Healthy. Michael right here with you from Montana Harvest. Here with Kimmy Oliver from Montana Harvest. Today we have one of my favorite people that's going to be with us today, Josh Tully from One Life Science. And we've developed a relationship over the past couple of years and really get into some deep scientific stuff. But we're going to be talking about several things today. And welcome aboard, Josh.
Thanks so much. Great to see you guys.
Yes, glad to have you on. I know you wanted to talk about these microplastics and the truth about it and what's going on with it all.
Yeah. It's a big category that's really exploding in consumer consciousness. So when we first started working with Montana Harvest, we were focused on longevity ingredients like NMN for promoting NAD plus levels, with the goal of affecting anti-aging benefits. We're a science-backed company. We really focus on driving therapeutic value. And in our research on those ingredients, we really came across some exciting research on NAD plus boosting, specifically through NMN, as it relates to microplastics. And we wanted to be early on in this type of category. So we launched our MP Pro Microplastics Defense in October of last year and presented it to retailers across the country, to some really exciting response. Like I said, it's really exploded in consumer consciousness in the same way that BPA, which is in fact a microplastic, exploded into consciousness 15, 20 years ago. 15 years ago, nobody knew what BPA was. Within a year, everybody knew that their water bottle had to be BPA free. And we're seeing that same type of awareness now becoming real in the broader spectrum of microplastics. So I just heard Netflix just released a new documentary, the Microplastics Detox. And it's a good place to talk, but we really have to be real about what we can affect and what we can't affect, and that's where One Life Science really wants to lead in the space.
I'm assuming that this is true, but are you finding that microplastics hinders our cellular function and our NAD production? And that's why NMN helps?
Yeah, well, it most specifically, just like BPA, people understood that BPA was an endocrine disruptor. So that's the biggest type of effect. It really impacts hormones throughout our body, and that relates to a lot of different conditions. People with endocrine disruption are more susceptible to things like heart attacks and strokes. But in younger kids, there's issues with proper reproductive organ development. We're seeing massive drops over the last 50 years in fertility rates, lower sperm counts, lower sperm mobility, lower testicular size. In women, we're seeing premature entry into menopause, earlier premature births, lower birth weights, lots of different issues as it pertains to fertility. But that endocrine disruption is probably the biggest part of it. But the core of it is really a massive surge in what we call reactive oxygen species, ROS, which inherently isn't bad. They're really important components to cell signaling and an immune response. But when they're produced in excess, uh, ROS can actually lead to damage to DNA, lipids, and proteins. And that creates what we call oxidative stress. Oxidative stress then becomes systemic inflammation, and that's where we see a cascade of impacts throughout the body.
Wow, yeah. And so how does the NMN help assist with that?
Yeah, so the formulation that we have developed with MP Pro Microplastics Defense is based on NMN. NMN is uh, the direct precursor to NAD plus. Healthy NAD plus helps your body um, activate senolytic activity, and it helps boost sirtuins. Senolytic activity is important because those damaged cells in our body become what we call senescent, and that's older non-functioning cells. And our body needs to eliminate these cells or they become bigger problems down the road. For example, in the heart, when there's a proliferation of senescent cells, that's what leads to an enlargement of the heart. Your body naturally has to reproduce healthy cells to replace those senescent cells. But if our body doesn't eliminate them, it literally enlarges the heart and then increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes. So we really want to promote senolytic activity. In terms of SIRT1 activity, that's really going to power the body's immune system to identify old and mutated cells, cells that aren't behaving properly, and push them into what's called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death. We want to identify the cells that shouldn't be there, that are going to become problems later on, and eliminate them from the system so they can be replaced with healthy cells. And that's the real core of the benefits of NMN. As a result of all of that, it can actually address that oxidative stress effectively.
Well, that's really interesting because I mean, obviously, when you have abnormal cells, you're going to develop cell mutation. And so, if this is something that could stop that and then help the cells regenerate in the body, it can kind of restore your life as is, and so that you can be more productive and get better cell growth. Because really, let's face it, Josh, I mean, if you don't get any good cell activity in cell replication, you have problems, right?
Yes, yes, definitely.
And you see a lot of the diseases start to develop, especially with the inflammation and the reactive oxygen species and things like that. Well, when things get out of balance, that's when we have a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and that's why most physicians actually consider a decline in SIRT1 activity as the causal link to the onset of disease as we age.
Can you explain that more? Because I'm not that familiar with that certain one. Could you like break
Yeah,
that down
so
a little bit?
sirtuins are generally regarded as our longevity genes. Um, they're a class of proteins that are involved in promoting cellular and DNA repair, um, but also activating our immune system to identify those old and mutated cells, so we can actually eliminate them from our body. So sirtuin activity, specifically SIRT1, is crucial in those functions.
And so the MMN will like help promote that, produce it, inspire
Correct.
it, increase it.
Yeah. So NMN is the direct precursor to NAD+. NAD+ is an ingredient that our body cannot assimilate directly. So we have to boost our NAD+ levels by taking precursors. You can take NAD+ intravenously if you've got something like a Myers cocktail that people take periodically. But it's invasive, it's expensive, not easily accessible. So we have to take it by precursors. So NMN is the direct precursor to NAD+. can help promote NAD plus levels, and then NAD plus can really do its work.
How long does it take before people will see some kind of results with this?
Yeah, so it's definitely a buildup type of effect. Water's the most abundant molecule in your body. NAD plus is the second most abundant molecule in your body. And those NAD plus levels definitely decline as we age. So if someone's taking the product, um, it's going to take some time to build up to, those proper NAD plus levels. Um, we typically see benefits with our customers after 6 weeks, which is pretty typical of a lot of supplements. But we're seeing athletes, triathletes are taking the product and they're reporting, actual documented improvements in athletic performance by, upwards of 2%, which for competitive triathletes is pretty significant, and that's taken over that period of time.
Well, that's fascinating that it declines with age, just like glutathione declines with age. Could you go over the link between glutathione and NAD and how NAD helps protect glutathione?
Yeah, well, so glutathione, is typically known as the master antioxidant. So really, really crucial in the same respect to reduce oxidative stress, to help preserve NAD plus. We actually use it in our formulation along with N-acetylcysteine and a good form of vitamin C and ascorbyl palmitate, because there are three crucial antioxidants to address oxidative stress through our system and promote healthy liver function, so we can help whatever detoxification that is actually possible.
Well, and it sounds like NAD, I mean, obviously it's going to be beneficial for energy and cellular function, but can you go over the benefits for brain health? Because it can help a lot with brain cell repair.
Um, yeah, I'd have to look back at the studies on brain cell repair. Um, I've spent a lot of my career in the cognitive health space with a number of different doctors that are, on the leading edge of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's type of research. Um, so I've gotten a lot of good information from them. Um, in my research on NMN, we found that promoting proper levels of NAD plus and having proper levels of NAD plus in the brain can support cognitive function. Um, but there's some really cool studies that actually show that it can preserve um, neurons and brain cells in hypoxic situations, which is to say, someone's going through a stroke. You need to restore blood flow to the brain as quickly as possible. Um, but proper levels of NAD plus will preserve those brain cells and neurons for as long as possible, until you can restore that blood flow. And when it comes to strokes, minutes count. You have to get that blood flow restored as quickly as possible. So any improvements in preservation is really crucial.
And doesn't NMN help improve circulation and better endothelia function as well?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great studies on circulation specifically. Um, Not only can proper levels of NAD plus keep veins and arteries supple, so things like plaques uh, are more difficult to actually build up, um, but NAD plus is also angiogenesis in nature, which is to say it can help produce new veins and capillaries. So as people get older, they have more and more issues with circulation because their body can't produce those veins and capillaries as well, which is why a lot of older people have cold hands and feet, and reduced circulation. So proper NAD plus levels are really crucial for circulation there.
Yeah, and can you maybe go over, because this is a very big topic for everybody, it seems,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
how NMN can help metabolism and weight regulation?
Um, yeah, so again, we see a cascade of benefits with proper NAD plus levels. So again, the point of NMN is to boost NAD plus levels. When we have increased um, mitochondrial energy, this supports metabolic syndrome or metabolic function directly, which is why those triathletes are seeing improved um, performances and better metabolism. Of course, that's going to directly relate to weight as well. So, keeping proper muscular function, keeping proper metabolic function, certainly crucial there. I'm going to tie that back to the microplastics. We see microplastics residing in uh, organs from top to bottom. I'm 55. At 55, I've got about a teaspoonful of microplastics in my brain, which aren't going anywhere. But they are literally found in studies to be in brain, liver, kidneys, spleen, lungs, arteries, reproductive organs, placenta. Um, Adipose tissue, and that's what I was going to get to. There are now conclusive studies linking microplastic exposure to type 2 diabetes. Um, I attribute this to microplastics residing in adipose tissue, um, which creates that same systemic inflammation, which affects pancreatic function, which then results in um, you know uh, disease states that we really don't want to be playing with. So yeah, anything that we can do to address those issues are really crucial.
I think I read somewhere that we consume as Americans in microplastics equivalent to a credit card a day in
Wow.
microplastics.
It is true. It is true. But I mean, we think of microplastics in terms of consumption, and it's a great way to think of it. A credit card's worth of microplastics per day. It's a lot scarier than that. We talk about microplastics, and what are microplastics? They're any particle from 5 millimeters down to 1 nanometer, and they're really broken into two classes: primary or secondary. I'll touch on the secondary first because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about consuming. We're talking about secondary sources are water bottles, that break down, they get into our water stream, they're then absorbed by root systems. Apples and carrots are the number one offenders in terms of microplastic content directly absorbed from our soils for fruits and vegetables. Um, so we get them that way, and that's what people normally think of. Water bottles. There's some big grocery retailers that are popular in the natural products industry that sell a lot of food in plastic containers. People are microwaving their lunch in plastic containers. They're literally infusing microplastics into their food. But the primary sources of microplastics are things like textiles. We wear a lot of polyester. We go to yoga class in lycra or spandex clothes on a rubber yoga mat. We're getting microplastics everywhere. So we're ingesting them, but we're also absorbing them directly through our skin, through our pores, and we're inhaling them. I'll give another example of a secondary source of microplastics, and it's the number one source of microplastics in the world. Most people think about, you know, water bottles, but it's really car tires. Car tires represent up to 42% of the world's microplastics. You drive down the road, you see all the little crumbles at the side of the road. It gets into the soil, it gets into our water stream, gets absorbed by those carrots and apple trees, and we end up with microplastics in our system. But we also inhale them directly. So anyone who's ever gone to a NASCAR race, they've
Mm-hmm.
gotten a lifetime supply of microplastics in one race. Um, so you know you smell those tires burning, and we're just inhaling them constantly. So eating them is one way. Yes, it's definitely true. But we inhale them, we absorb them. They're everywhere.
I'm really glad that you brought up the clothing because, I mean, think about all these people that think they're going to the gym, they're sweating, they're working out, they're doing their body good,
Yep.
all while wearing polyester and sweating and
Yeah.
absorbing those microplastics like
Yeah.
linen and cotton. And maybe we need to go back to buggies and horses with the wooden tires.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of validity to that. Yeah, look, I'm a parent. I've got a 19-year-old and a 28-year-old, and I thought I was doing such a great job sending them down to the playground. They had that new rubberized surface to
Yeah.
prevent broken bones and things like that. I thought I was doing such a great job as a parent. I was just infusing microplastics into their system. So it's all crushed up tires. My daughter played indoor soccer, and she was playing soccer and she was signaling me, and I'm like, don't signal me at you while you're playing a game. Well, it turns out she couldn't breathe because
Oh,
an indoor soccer field is astroturf with
yeah.
crushed up tires. And, she almost never has had an asthma attack in her life, but she was then, and it was directly associated with microplastics. And I had to tell the coach she can't play indoor anymore.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when you think you're doing good and then you find
Just
something
when you
else
think
out.
you're doing
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So,
No,
but
it's
at
true.
least there's a solution and people are waking up to it. And little things that people can do at home is one of the big culprits are their cookware, like especially the black
Everybody's got a
plastic.
black spatula.
Yeah, so throw that one out. All your plastic spatulas, the black ones especially, are prone to leaking into the foods and the microplastics, and even the black Tupperware to-go boxes that people get from restaurants. If it's in
Yeah,
a black, yeah, that so those ones I guess are some of the worst. The
yeah,
black
Wow.
plastic silverware, the Tupperware to
yeah,
go containers, and then your black spatulas and cookware. Like you want to go with bamboo or stainless steel when it
yeah.
comes to spatulas.
Well, when you talk about spatulas, you're not talking about the non-stick pan that you're using.
Oh yeah, yeah. That one,
All of those coatings are microplastic based.
yep.
So I love seeing a big surge in things like titanium pans and just your good old steel pans and things like that. Avoid those microplastics wherever you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's really not hard to cook with stainless steel. I mean, I think I bought my first set when I was in college and I was like, I want it to be stainless steel. And, you just heat it up and then add your butter or your ghee, your oil. And that's the secret is you heat it up first and then add that. And it doesn't stick
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah, so I mean the real key is, we're talking about trying to avoid microplastic exposure, and that really is crucial. Because the most important question is, can we detox microplastics from our system?
Well, I have some information about that.
Yeah, well, the answer realistically is no. We can to a small degree, but really for me, it's like bringing a toothbrush to clean up the Exxon Valdez. It's wholly inadequate in terms of what we can detox from our system. I've got that teaspoonful of microplastics in my brain, and they're not going anywhere. There's nothing in science that shows that we can significantly reduce those microplastics. And as a supplement company, I think it's crucial that we be honest about that. When we launched our product, the next show that I went to, There was a product called Microplastics Detox out there, and I just shook my head because it's making a false promise. Um, we can detox what we call free circulating um, microplastics from our system. You know, if they're in our gut and intestines, we can bind with those and prevent our body from absorbing them. Um, if they're in our bloodstream or something like that, we can encourage proper liver and kidney function to help purge those and detox them from our system. But once they're residing in our brain or our lungs or reproductive organs, they're not going anywhere. So what we really have to do is be honest and say the best we can do at this point is avoid microplastics, produce products with less plastics, so we have less exposure, and then deal with the side effects of microplastic exposure that we already have.
And don't stand by fires, right?
Don't stand by fire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But don't
yeah,
let people burn plastic and
yeah.
stand by those
Yes,
fires.
yeah, exactly,
You'll
exactly.
melt, you'll melt.
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, carpet, that's another one. We're walking on carpet all day, every day, and they're all microplastics. We're getting it everywhere. So, you mentioned things like cotton clothing. I mean, that's the way to go. I mean, obviously, people working out, that leads to other issues. But if you want to avoid microplastics, you really have to make a commitment. And I'm really encouraged to see that there are companies that are now, we think of microplastics as a petrochemical, and that is 100% true. When I do my presentations, I've got a little clip of Dustin Hoffman back in 1967 talking to the neighbor. The neighbor's trying to get him into the plastic industry. There's a bright future in plastics. Well, that was 1967. Times have definitely changed a bit. Um, so when I'm doing those presentations, it's getting people to rethink that. So now I'm seeing, plastic bottles that are being infused with other compounds. So when they're exposed to water and atmosphere, they immediately start breaking down. And within, I forgot the time period, 6 or 12 weeks, there's no microplastics remaining. Once it's in that landfill, within a matter of months, it's completely gone. No microplastics. Now, so we think about it as a petrochemical type of product, and that's because that's the only thing that we've known. But now we're seeing innovation by companies producing plant-based plastics. And
Wow.
that's the way to go. So I'm looking forward to advancements in that space. Um, but they just held the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee second session in Geneva last year in August, and in preparation for that, it was government agencies convening all together to try to get governments to reduce plastic production. And the Lancet came out 2 days before the conference, and I'm going to read this because they published it directly in their publication. Plastics are a grave, growing, and under-recognized danger to human and planetary health. Plastics cause disease and death from infancy to old age and are responsible for health-related economic losses exceeding $1.5 trillion annually. Plastic production is scheduled to double by 2040 and triple by 2060. Um, a lot of government leaders immediately, once that session was announced, put enormous pressure, and unsurprisingly, at the end of that convention in Geneva, there was no consensus and no agreement to reduce plastic production.
Wow.
Wow,
So
that's insane.
the problem's big, and it's only going to get bigger. And I'm glad to see that there's more awareness. Documentaries like on Netflix um,
Isn't that called
talk about.
Plastic People?
It's called The Plastic Detox. It just came
Oh,
out.
okay.
I fast forwarded through it. It focuses primarily on the endocrine portion as it relates to fertility issues. It follows a number of different people in terms of fertility and they talk about some of the strategies, to avoid microplastics going forward. But again, we still have to address the microplastics that are already in our system that aren't going anywhere.
I believe there was another one, but it came out 2 years ago in 2024, and it's a documentary called Plastic People.
Okay.
So there's multiple. There's another one now on Netflix that people can watch, or The Plastic People, because it is obviously a major concern and issue for human health and
Right.
moving forward. I mean, I know individuals that were struggling with fertility problems, and it's because they were wearing leggings all the time. And those are made out of, plastic. And so,
Yeah.
of course, that's getting into their reproductive organs, and it was hindering and it can also hinder men's testosterone. If
Correct.
if
Yeah.
men are wearing underwear or pants made out of plastic, well, we know that those are xenoestrogens, and they
Hmm.
can mimic estrogen in the body and increase estrogen, which in turn is going to affect testosterone levels.
Yes, definitely correct. And there's studies going back 50 years. They were actually researching BPA as a potential um, birth control
I
agent.
was worried you were going to say that. That's awful. I was like, please
It
don't say
is
birth
it is
control.
awful. But the point for me is just like a lot of other industries, they've known about this for a very long time, and they've kept it as quiet as they possibly could. So it's important for radio shows like yours to share that information and say we need to change, and
Yeah.
whether that's addressing the side effects in a product like mine, or whether it's changing cookware materials or producing products with plant-based plastics. We need to make whatever incremental changes that we can to improve the human condition. Those fertility rates, there were drops in fertility um, over 50% over those decades. So, we're literally going to drive ourselves into extinction if we continue at this rate.
Yeah. Incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we can talk about this all day, but I know that there was a couple of other topics that we wanted to touch on, and one was your GLP-1.
Yeah.
Is this a new
Um,
formula?
Well, there we have two products in our GLP-1 category. GLP-1 Pro is a formulation that I'm very proud of, to promote the natural production of GLP-1 in our system. GLP-1 is a naturally occurring hormone in our system that controls appetite and cravings. Um, it's what pharmaceutical companies mimic in their injections. Um, but it occurs naturally in our bodies. We really just have to listen to our bodies. GLP-1 has a half-life of about 4 minutes in our system. So at Thanksgiving dinner, when you feel full, you need to stop eating. People go back on the couch and they're like, "Hey, I got my second wind." Well, that's your GLP-1 wearing off. So the important thing is, no, listen to your body. You were already full. Don't go back for seconds. Um, but then you really have to balance your blood sugar levels to maintain that appetite control for a longer period of time. So we're really proud of that formulation. It is um, our top selling product, because weight is one of the biggest issues in America. Sad to say, America is getting heavier. It's not getting lighter. Um,
Well, and I think this
so
is a great segue because we know microplastics affect your endocrine system, which is in
yes,
turn going to affect your metabolism and weight gain and excess estrogen, especially with women with PCOS. So this is a great time to segue into the GLP-1 and
yeah,
how it can boost metabolism and in turn weight loss.
yeah. Well, I mean, the real key to the product is boosting those GLP-1 levels. So we use three key probiotics: Akkermansia muciniphila, Clostridium butyricum, and Bifidobacterium infantis. We then include a full botanical blend of ingredients that both promote GLP-1, but certainly promote healthy blood sugar levels as well. Um, uh, but as it relates to that metabolic function, that's really crucial as well. So you've got ingredients like the Clostridium butyricum and Bifidobacterium infantis. Those are both butyrate producing bacteria, which not only can promote a healthy microbiome and a healthy intestinal lining, so we can actually absorb nutrients properly, but it can also promote proper metabolism. Um, Butyrate is what infants use to help break down um, breast milk, which is comprised of a lot of complex carbohydrates. So Akkermansia is a naturally occurring probiotic um, that infants actually use to produce um, that butyrate and actually break down those complex carbohydrates. So really, really important in terms of metabolic health and metabolic function in terms of those ingredients.
Yeah, I've been hearing more and more about Akkermansia, that strain of probiotic, and like the demand is there. Customers are wanting that specific strain for weight
Yeah.
loss.
The very best research that is being done, that's published at NIH, in PubMed, it really revolves around that Akkermansia ingredients. For me, the other two probiotics are, equally important, but it's really the blend. But the real awareness is coming around Akkermansia eosinophila. And you really have to get, therapeutic dosages. So in our product, the blend is 1.25 billion AFUs slash CFUs of probiotics, which we really feel, based on the research, is where you need to be to get really good therapeutic benefit.
We'll talk about the one that's got the peptides, the collagen. They should be the probiotics.
Yeah, so look, our newest GLP-1 category product, it's actually honestly just being released this week. We presented to a number of retailers at the end of last year, and we really do believe it's going to be one of our strongest products, if not our top selling product. It's called GLP-1 Collagen Peptide Plus. It is not specifically targeting weight loss. We're targeting the side effects of weight loss. People that are on prescription GLP-1 medications, we're all familiar with a lot of the famous side effects, like paralyzing stomach cramping and nausea and diarrhea, and lots of different effects like that. But we're also seeing significant reductions in bone mass and bone density, loss of lean muscle mass. So you see the before and afters on social media of actors and actresses that have been on Ozempic for a period of time, and it looks like they've aged 50 years overnight. And part of that is because of loss of skin elasticity and things like that. But a lot of it is actually from bone loss. They're actually losing bone mass in their faces, which is creating this emaciated type of look. And a lot of it is because of nutrient deficiencies. The problem with most products is they don't focus on a holistic approach at weight loss. Literally on the side of my package, I say taken in conjunction with moderate to mild to moderate exercise, and a healthy diet. Our product can be an important tool in your weight management journey. Most people take that injection. Instead of eating the whole pizza, they eat half the pizza. They're not increasing their nutrient density. They're not changing their lifestyle. They're just eating less. And one of the side effects of those injections is thinning of that intestinal wall. So, in a compromising of our microbiome. So we're actually absorbing less nutrients. And that's being translated into, weaker hair, skin, and nails, loss of bone mass and bone density, and loss of lean muscle mass. Certainly the cognitive effects of calorie restrictive weight loss. So our product, GLP-1 Collagen Peptide Plus, is geared specifically to support lean muscle mass, bone health in terms of bone mass and bone density, um, and support cognitive benefits while people are going through calorie restriction. And I don't care if it's um, sorry about that. I don't care if that's a pharmaceutical injection. I don't care if that's Weight Watchers. I don't care if that's our own GLP-1 Pro. If people are going through calorie restriction, they need proper nutrition. So this is a product formulated specifically to address those issues. The main ingredient is collagen peptides, very, very popular throughout the country. It's a very clean, ours is grass-fed, the cleanest collagen peptides that we can get. Um, Easy to assimilate protein that can help support um, bone mass, bone density, and lean muscle mass. But obviously, as being collagen, really good for skin benefits as well. We then take it the next step to include uh, a proprietary ingredient called TWK10, which is a novel probiotic with 5 gold standard clinical trials behind it, not only for preserving lean muscle mass in athletes, but also in elderly patients that are having difficulty preserving lean muscle, which is a really big issue. And if you're, the worst thing that can happen for an elderly patient is they get weaker, they fall, they've got lower bone mass and bone density, and they break their hip. Your life expectancy practically goes to zero. So really, really crucial to preserve lean muscle mass, bone mass, and bone density. Um, HMB, great ingredients that cardiologists have been using for decades in different therapies to try to preserve lean muscle mass. Athletes have certainly used it as well. And then cognitive health benefits in terms of um, lion's mane, bacopa, phosphatidylserine, and then rounded out with additional minerals like calcium citrate, magnesium citrate, some selenium, and zinc to help support that bone mass as well. So it's really not targeting weight loss. The product is formulated specifically to address the side effects of any calorie restrictive weight loss program.
I'm really glad and I appreciate the fact that you guys promote a healthy diet along with your GLP-1. And I want to add that your GLP-1 is not going to have these negative side effects from the pharmaceutical ones, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, of course, I want to be careful about comparisons to
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals, but what I can say is things like butyrate promote healthy bacteria in our gut and actually inhibit harmful bacteria,
Yeah.
which I can't say um, for the pharmaceutical products. Um, we have people that have lost, that people write in and they've lost 10 pounds over the course of 2 months or so. Some are more and less. Um, depending on how aggressive they've been in cleaning up their diet and improving exercise as well. Um, but we have a number of people that said, "Hey, I reached my weight loss goal, but oh my gosh, I feel so much better taking this product. I keep taking it just because I feel better from a gastrointestinal aspect. I feel more regular. I feel better taking the product."
Well, that's powerful because, I mean, there's a lot of influencers online and social media that are taking the pharmaceutical GLPs and they take a maintenance dose, but they continue to eat fast food and they
Yes.
make advertisements for fast food industry. And it's like, I want to know how these people truly feel. Like, how are your energy levels consuming the diet that you are, as well as the calorie deficit with these foods?
Yeah.
And a lot of them still take, anti-anxiety medications and all of these other medications because their body hasn't created balance. Yeah, they might have lost the weight, but that doesn't mean that they're healthy at a cellular level.
Yes, yes, I totally completely agree. And that's why there's a lot of side effects listed on their websites. But the last time I checked, they didn't talk about um, loss of lean muscle, loss of bone
Yeah.
mass and bone density, increases in things like pancreatic cancer um,
Thyroid cancer.
and thyroid cancer. Yeah, I mean, look, if we're trading colon cancer for pancreatic cancer, that's a pretty bad exchange, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. Or
Yeah,
you're trading off, well, I'm 50 pounds heavier, but now I have thyroid cancer and I got the weight off. It's like
yeah,
when people are dying, they're losing weight too. So
yeah.
shouldn't we approach it in a healthy detoxification way where your detox pathways are opened up rather than trading off the weight for a disease or potential cancer?
Right. And that's why we take the lifestyle approach. Our product can be an effective tool, but you have to change the lifestyle. And what we see in those studies on those pharmaceuticals, great, over 68 weeks, they lost 15% of their body mass. But as soon as they get off it, they gain the weight back faster
Well,
because they haven't changed their lifestyle.
they have all kind of diseases and all kind of problems and complications that they're not telling you about because we hear about it when
Right.
they go off it. They're
Yeah.
worse than they were. They may look skinnier, but they're worse than they were. I mean, they have like all kind of things starting to develop now. Because it's
Yep.
kind of like, this probably sounds bad, but it's kind of like they go on a drug trip for a while and then they get off and they go through withdrawals. And the
Yeah.
bone issue, I mean, you can see that in their faces. I know one customer right now, they do not look the same. Yeah, they're skinny, but their
Yep.
bones like changed. There was
Yeah.
some kind of, it's some kind of bone deformity took place. They
It's
were
it's
on it
it,
for
it,
like
it's
over 8 months.
Yeah, it's really pronounced. It's look, I mean, there are people that have to lose weight, and I came from an allopathic household. I'm not completely against pharmaceuticals. They can be an important tool, but taken over an extended period of time, we're going to see more and more pronounced side effects. And in 10 or 15 years, we're going to see the long-term studies, and they're not going to be pretty.
Well, that's because pharmaceutical and prescription drugs were never designed to be taking long term. They
Right.
weren't. They were
Right.
originally designed for a short-term period to help an issue and then get off of it. But now, once you get on it, a lot of individuals struggle to ever get off and they become a customer for life. But they were never designed for that.
They become
Right.
addicted.
They
They,
become
they
addicted.
become
Yeah,
Their
and
addicted
their body becomes reliant
because
on
of
them.
money. I mean, they
yeah,
were doing a short period, now they're doing as long as you want because they make as much more money off.
yeah,
And then you get to the point where, okay, I can't do this anymore, so now I'm gonna have to be hospitalized, and they make even more money.
right.
So it's
They-
really a deception where they destroy you
yeah, I mean,
through your ego.
one of the companies that I was tracking, they did $55 million in sales in 2017 of the product. By 2023, they had done 68 billion, and they're projected to do
Wow.
133 billion by 2030. So it's a big money type of market, and they're not motivated at that point to get their patients off of it.
Well, no. But I mean, yeah, it's sometimes you just have to laugh about it because it gets dark really fast. But you just have to pay attention to what you're fueling your body with. You can't fuel your body with poisons and starve yourself from nutrients to lose weight and then think that you're you're balancing out your health that way. I mean, we have to go back to the basics. What are you feeding your body with? What are you fueling your cells with? You know, is it helping with ATP production, or is it contributing to your microplastic overload? Because you know that the papers that the fast food industry use have microplastic and other endocrine disrupting chemicals just from
Yes.
the plastic wrap that they're wrapping your food with. That doesn't even
Yeah.
talk about the ingredients that are in the food.
No, you guys forgot about all the advertisement that they do. Where they say, oh, look at this person, they have all these models on there. Like, oh,
Yeah.
look at this person, they did
Well-
this, they did that, and then the next thing you know, 6 months later, you're going like, oh man, I have heart problems, oh no, I got gut problems, oh no. My
Yeah.
metabolism's out of whack, I can't lose weight.
Yeah. Well, look, I will commend people for making some improvements. There was a popular sub sandwich chain that removed the yoga mat material from their bread, which made it
Ah.
really squishy. I mean, they publicly announced that they removed that from their bread. I'm not sure I would have ever admitted it was in my bread to begin with, but all the
Amazing.
receipts that are handed out, believe it or not, they still contain BPA. Most receipts still contain BPA to this day, which is just astonishing to me.
Ours at Montana Harvest are BPA free. I will say that because
That's
I
awesome.
specifically order BPA free ones.
It
But I'm
costs
sure
a little
there's
bit more,
other,
but it's
yeah,
worth it.
yeah.
Eat this receipt, you'll lose weight.
No, don't say that. Well,
Honest, nothing will happen to you, eat it, you'll lose weight.
Yeah.
well, we appreciate what One Life Science is doing,
Yeah,
what you guys are doing there, and creating alternatives for people.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it, yeah, weight is still a very big problem in our country. And a lot of individuals struggle with it because we are bombarded with endocrine disrupting chemicals. And there's over 81,000 different chemicals that we don't have control over, that our body is bombarded with. You don't
Yeah.
have control of the microplastics from the environment that you were exposed to. You might be control of what's in your own home and what you're wearing, what products you're using, but the environmental ones that, I mean, you don't have control over that. And so it's nice to have that alternative option that you guys provide. So that way people don't have to rely on the other ones that come with all kinds of side effects.
Yeah. For us, it's an all of the above approach.
Yeah.
We'll try to reduce things like microplastics to reduce that endocrine disruption, but we're still going to be exposed by them because we're not going to get rid of those cars. In the U.S., I think there are 9 banned microplastic components in foods. In the EU, there's 1,200. So it's a
Wow.
completely different level of magnitude. So in that type of environment, we have to make incremental changes wherever we can, and then One Life Science is dedicated to filling in where we fall short.
Nice. Well, we want to thank you for
Yes.
joining us. We're almost out of time. Do you want to close us out, Michael?
Yeah, we really want to thank you. I mean, I love it when you come on because you're like fresh knowledge. It's like you're inspiring, fresh knowledge, and so we learn so much. So we really want to thank you for what you're doing and the future that you're going to change people's lives in. And so you come on anytime you want to come because you're always so innovative. You always got new knowledge. That's what I like about you. New knowledge, fresh knowledge. That's
Yep.
what keeps you alive, fresh knowledge.
It is. No, honestly, and that's always been my career drive, and my partner Bill. We read every day because if we're not learning something new every single day, we're not doing it right.
Well, we want to thank you for coming on today, and we'll be back on next week.
Great. Thanks so much.
You're listening to the Let's Stay Healthy radio show, sponsored and brought to you by Montana Harvest Natural Food Store in Billings, Montana.